just like that, it's Friday! Yay! And the crowd goes crazy. Oh, I've got a polite crowd with me. That's okay, because I'm doing the Friday dance, that's for sure. And man, it's so nice to feel that sunshine. You know, the beauty is that it is really doing its trick in terms of the snow and, more importantly, the ice. Phil, if you wouldn't mind just showing everybody the stream here, it is, for the most part, fast flowing. Almost all the ice is gone. So that's good. That means spring indeed is around the corner, and Mother Nature will cooperate. That is for sure. Lots going on today. First of all, we're going to talk about the warm-up that's coming. That's the good news with our forecast. But also, you know, World Migratory Bird Day. Yes, officially it's still a few weeks away, but it has begun. And that is a sure sign of spring. In fact, you might not be able to hear it on the microphone, but you can hear as we walk through. I don't know, can you hear that? Oh, it's amazing. So we're going to talk about World Migratory Bird Day. This is one of the best spots in the GTA. And we're also going to cut down a tree today. What? Yes. There's a very good reason for it, though. And we're going to meet with the team. They're just on the other side. But let me tell you, we are at the Rattray Marsh Conservation Area in Mississauga. This is 94 acres. It is a pristine, conservation area, so nothing can ever be built here. And there are many trails, and some of them incorporate these bridges, these wooden bridges that you can walk on, which, of course, elevates you when we have a lot of moisture, and that's why it's called a marsh. It'll keep you above that. I want to throw up a picture. We'll get Jason and Master Control to show up scene one, and that is a picture on the other side where you actually can see the large marsh. And it's a summer photo. It wasn't taken this morning, mind you, but it gives you the idea just how beautiful it is in this area. So, you know, this will meander throughout. There's a number of trails. And on the other side, you actually see the marsh. And the lake is just to my south. So you don't have to walk very far. So what makes this a real gem is that really this is the last natural lakefront marsh in the region. You just don't have this. So it's really beautiful, 94 acres. And this is a prime spot for wildlife. Many different types of species live here and also fly through here. You know, when we talk about the spring migration, there are literally millions, in fact, over 50 million birds will make their way back home. And there are 4 flyways here in and around the GTA. So I should say 4 flyways in general. We're in the middle of one of the primary ones. So there's a number of spots that they will come, not only to return home, but also as a rest stop. You have to imagine when they're flying for so long, they're going to be tired, they're going to be hungry, they're going to be thirsty. So this is almost like a rest stop, you know, on the highway. You know, when you pull over and you got to do a quick pee run. Don't worry, sir, we'll hop over. Phil, we have a gentleman. Come on in. We're just live streaming. Sorry to bother you, sir. Come on through. It's okay. Yeah, there's no price for admission. Come on through, folks. You can give a wave. We're live streaming. It's a new show we're doing called Here and There. Just give a wave. Don't be shy. There we go. Yeah, you see. They think they're getting punked or something. I don't know. Do I look like I'm rough and tough? This reminds me of the story I read to the kids, the Billy Goat Gruff, who wants to walk on the bridge, right? You can't come, but that's the beauty of live as well. But what I was saying that, you know, the birds, they will fly, you know, millions not millions, excuse me, over 50 million birds are coming here, and they'll fly thousands of kilometers. And the key is certainly they go and follow really the geography or the topography in terms of their layout. So I want to show you another image. This is from Birdcast. So this is a radar image, and it lays on some of the birds. And this was from yesterday through into early this morning. And you can see some of the bands. So there's purple, but embedded, the brighter the colors are, that's the heavier concentration of birds that are flying through here. And it's really quite amazing, you know, to see those birds. So primarily the flyway that's most active in the last 24 hours was just flying north from around the Texas area. But as we got into early this morning, some of them were punching a little more east, so across southwestern Ontario. So it's really just amazing stuff to see that in action. Now, Phil was pointing out we got some more here. Do you want to try to get one there? So we're streaming live. Welcome to Here and There. I'm Anwar Knight. And oh yes, look at that cardinal. I know it's hard to see, folks, but it's just sitting there and it's doing a little bit of a song for us, loving the sunshine. And that's the beauty. I don't know if you're a birder or not, Maybe you just casually walk through and you appreciate when they start serenading you, and that's wonderful. But there are many professional birders. They come out here at not just this spot, many regions across the GTA and across the world for that matter. But they join forums, and there's a forum where you can actually put your sightings each day. And in this particular spot at Rattray Marsh, just on Wednesday, a couple of days ago, there's one gentleman by the name of Peter. He spotted 31 different species of birds right here. So it's just amazing stuff. And I want to show you another image of some of the early arrivals. So some of the birds, which are sort of, the real signature of spring that's arriving. So that'll be the yellow warbler. And then, of course, you have the red-winged blackbird. And the red-winged blackbird, the male bird comes first. And it sort of comes and tries to find the prime spot for a nest. And then it gets very vocal. And it's like, I'm looking for some sugar. It's looking for a mate. But those are some of the early birds. There are many that will come through here, but those are some of the real signs that spring is here because they're the first to arrive. Now, it leads me to my AK today. That's the Anwar Night Query. We ask you a question. So you may not be a birder per se, but the question is, what would be the one animal that you would love to experience, to see in its natural habitat, in the wild? Any animal on Earth, which one would it be? And yes, I know we have some amazing zoos. We have the Toronto Zoo here, and that's cool. It's amazing. But to see any animal in its natural habitat, what would that be? Let me know, and we'll connect with you in just a moment on the AKQ, the Anwar Night. For me, it's a herd of elephants and probably a troop of gorillas. I have a good friend of mine just did a safari about 2 years ago now, and he was telling me he saw a herd of elephants, in particular, the family with the babies, and he started to cry. And he's not really a crying kind of guy, but it just shows if you're a nature lover, that's pretty powerful to see animals in the wild, and that's what's amazing. So that's the question I'm asking you this morning. What animal would you like to see in its natural habitat? So you can see here the varied settings. We have the flowing water, we have the bridge, the walkways, the trails, and you can imagine once those leaves pop up, this becomes a whole new landscape. And when you're talking about connecting with nature, this is a prime spot that you may want to explore because it really is just beautiful. You want to check that out. Now, I want to get into our forecast. We have some really nice things to look forward to. So we're going to start off with the national picture, and that is showing a ridge of high pressure in place. So essentially the Great Lakes Basin is dealing with a lot of sunshine, but it's enhancing the northerly flow. You can see that cold, gusty wind coming around the circulation of that. There's also another low pressure system that is to our northeast, and it's retrograding. So it's actually kicking back some energy in towards our area. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means a little bit of cloud as we get into late day, but it also will generate some lake effect snow. So that's something that we're going to continue to follow. Now, I don't think it'll be anything really significant for us, maybe a centimeter, but in the traditional snow belt areas, maybe as much as 15 centimeters. So let me show you what it looks like as we get into our actual forecast. We'll break it all down for you. So in and around the Toronto area, you can expect a lot of sunshine, and then increasing clouds in the evening, windy and cold. We have northwesterlies 30 to 60 kilometers an hour, and the high today around the freezing mark. Variable cloudiness as we get into the evening, and I put the risk of flurries certainly about a centimeter, but -8, feeling like -15. We had significant wind chills early this morning. As we take a look at the rest of southern Ontario, sunny with increasing clouds, again, gusty winds, and that's a part of the problem when it comes to, can I just stop for a sec? My crew are the best guys in the world. So Phil doesn't want to wreck the shot, so he wanted to walk. Phil, go show the mud you were walking in. You know what? Let's give a thumbs up for the crew. You guys are awesome, but keep yourself clean if you can. I don't want your wife sending me an email. Don't walk in the mud. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Southern Ontario, sunny with increasing clouds, gusty winds, -6 to 3 degrees, then mainly cloudy with flurries, and then the local squall. So we have a squall watch that's in place for Barrie, Dufferin, Grey Bruce, 5 to maybe 15 centimeters of snow. I think 5 to 10 is very likely. Locally, some areas may punch up a little bit higher. But again, for those living in those areas, you're used to certainly some March snow. That's not out of the norm. And then the The highs, you can see -6 to 3, but into the overnight, -8 in Windsor, -11 in Kingston, -13 in Haliburton. But wind chills, -12 to -22 degrees. So the 5-day forecast, putting it all together, we have flurries early morning tomorrow, and then we'll get some sunny breaks. Still cold, -4. We should be at around +3. Mainly sunny as we get into Sunday, -1. Then Monday, warm air moves in. Mix of sun and cloud, 6 degrees and double digits for Tuesday, up to 10 degrees. So, Vern, I'm going to grab the tablet off you. And what we'll do, thank you so much, sir. And okay, so there's the forecast. And when you want to answer the AKQ, let us know all about it. And we'll certainly connect with you on that in terms of what is the one animal that you would like to see in person. So, Susan said saw 2 beavers in Little Rouge River last week. Well, that's kind of cool. Never saw in the wild. We have some beavers actually where I live, and they're really quite amazing to see, actually. They're very big. You don't really appreciate it. And then to see them, gnawing on a tree or some wood is really quite something. Oh, yeah. Don says Rattray Marsh is beautiful. Helen says keep up the good work. And you can't wait for the yellow finches to come back. Yeah, they are. They're really beautiful. So Diane, you're telling me you have heard the birds on my mic. So that's really good. I'm glad to hear that. Yes, Helen is saying that the Rattray Marsh, it's off Jack Darling Park in Mississauga. You're right. In fact, if you're coming down here, that would be the place to park at Jack Darling Park, and then you can make your way through these trails here. Keep in mind, though, as I mentioned, there is some mud here. So if you're bringing the kids and that sort of thing, I would put on the rubber boots because they're going to run. I have 2 young kids, an 8 and a 6-year-old, and my 6-year-old, he would be rolling down through here. So you want to do the rubber boots if you're coming down. And if you have some limitations in terms of walking, this may not be the best path. I would stick to the boardwalk, but I'll let you be the judge. So Bev is saying robins have been seen in Port Hope. Sandra's saying bring on spring. Yep. Jerry, you like the hat, do you? And you know what? This is my benchmark, my pook toque. If it is cold, I'm wearing this to cover the ears. Otherwise, I may opt for some other type of chapeau. But this is, it's local too. Support local, so I love that. An elephant, yes. CE Snowflake says, I agree with you. Grace is loving the birds singing. Suzanne Luker saying the Halton Peel Birds is a great group on Facebook. So maybe I'll have to check that out. And Amy is saying any animal experience during an African safari. And she's saying I should start a tour company, be the guide. You know what? I'm liking that. That might be a good idea, Amy. I do like that. I got to tell you, the safari is actually on my bucket list. Hi there. How are you? Yeah. That's something I really want to do. I want to do an African safari and do the whole thing. It looks like that's going to be delayed even more because of COVID. I mean, traveling is not going to happen anytime soon. Side note, next week we mark officially 1-year anniversary that it was declared a pandemic, by the way, just so you know. But Sandy's saying this is fantastic. And Diane watches the swans and deer. Real blessing if you're living in a neighborhood with deer come near your home because they are amazing creatures. And Diane is watching from Little Britain. Whereabouts is that, Diane? Tell me. Send me another note. Whereabouts is Little Britain? And Cindy's saying migration of the sea turtles on shore. Yes, I've only seen that in documentaries. That is pretty powerful. That would be amazing to be a part of. Laura's saying seeing the elephants in a natural environment. Right on. And Judy is saying she likes the funky toque as well. And Sheila says she's hearing the birds. Bonnie, hello. Good to see you too. Appreciate you joining me today. Also Helen is saying great to see you again. Oh, Wally says would like to see the dolphins swimming up in the ocean up close. Yeah, that is pretty cool. I haven't seen dolphins, but I've seen whales when we did a tour of the East Coast. And, dolphins are not as big. But to see a whale when you're in one of those boats and you go on the tour, and they have strict regulations how close you can get to it, which is good. But this is like the size of a school bus that's coming towards you, and you don't really understand it until you get towards it. So that's certainly up there. Hello to Carm. Also, Lillian saying, we are with you, Anwar. Yay! I appreciate that. And Connie says the beautiful blue sky and sunshine. Yeah, I'll take that any day without question. Doug is saying the crew is great. So kudos to Vern and Phil today. Jackie saying hello, great to see you. Sandy is saying more osprey. Manatees. I have seen manatees. In fact, I've swam with them. Not that I intended to. In Florida, they were just really around there, and I actually pulled my kids back. That they're wild, but they're also pretty significant creatures because they're so big and very gentle. But that would be a good one. Glennis is saying hello from Brampton. Jerry from Oakville. Donna saying hello from Thorold. Alyssa saying she saw Blue Jay. Blue Jays, really already? Good for you. Uh, someone's saying a Sasquatch. Good luck. Let me know how that goes for you. And Gloria is saying zebras. Yeah, that would be kind of cool. Vern, I'm going to pass that to you if you don't mind. And we're going to continue our walk here. Thanks for looking in. If you're just joining us, this show streams live each and every Friday at noon at various locations. I'm Anwar Knight. If you can, show us some likes and some hearts right now. Let me know if you're liking the program, and that's one way that we certainly can do that. So show me some love if you don't mind, and of course share it. But when we're talking about birds, birds, of course, play a significant role when it comes to ecosystems. One of the other things that they do is also do pest management. We have lots of birds. Now, if you look over here, you're going to see really a sad sight if you're a nature lover, and that is a lot of trees that are down on the ground. And that is because of one unwelcome pest that has arrived in this area, and that is the emerald ash borer beetle. Now, this is something, the emerald ash borer in 2002, and it has been a problem ever since. And what these beetles do, primarily after ash trees. Hi guys, how are you? We're just streaming live. Want to give a quick hi to everybody watching? Say you enjoying the park? Good to see you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it. Loves watching. Isn't that awesome? So I just want to show you. So we're going to walk over here, Phil, because what these beetles do, in particular ash, and there's black and white ash here, but black ash trees really love this environment because they thrive in that wet marsh sort of thing. So, Phil, if you could go to the left, yeah, just over where the helmets are, and I want to point out, some of the things that happens when these beetles take over. So, firstly, you can see on the inside here, I'll get out of the sun here, you can see how the inside the tree is done, right? And that's why they're cutting it. But one of the signatures that we look for over here, so you can see the markings. So what happens, the larva starts to eat, and it just starts making these little S grooves, and it sucks all the nutrition from the tree. In fact, Jason to Master Control, if we could pull up the photo of the emerald ash borer, you can see that, that bright green color, and then the larva. So there's the images. So that's the insect that we're talking about. And then the larva, so what happens is that they will lay eggs actually in the crevices of the bark here. The eggs will just sort of come in here, and that's their gateway in. And then as they hatch, then the larva starts to, eat. I mean, it's got to survive, and it just eats all the nutritious parts of the tree, and it kills it. And another signature, I'm going to see if I can find them. It'll be hard to see. But when they exit, they have a classic capital D hole mark into the tree. It's going to be hard to see with our camera, but these are some of the things that you're looking for. Like this one's a little better here, Phil. Get out of the light. So it's a classic D, and that signifies, the beetle that has made its exit. So you can see how devastating it is. And let me tell you, nobody wants to cut down a tree, especially if you're a nature lover or you're a conservation authority. But this needed to be done. So what CVC has done, Vern, I'll just get my equipment while we're talking here. What the CVC has done is that they have plotted this particular marsh, and they start working on removing some of the trees, and they're doing about 300 to 400 in this sort of cutting that they're doing. But overall, at the Credit Valley Conservation areas, they have lost upwards of 13,000 trees because of the ash borer beetle. So it needs to be done, because once the tree becomes, when it dies and it becomes unsafe for the public, we saw a number of people walking the trails, also for their staff, because they monitor all of these conservation areas. And they do also try to do some treatment in terms of preventing further infestation. But you get a strong wind and these limbs come down and it can kill somebody. So as a result, they have to cut them. They don't have a choice. Now, I should be pointing out, though, they leave everything down because this will help, regenerate the area naturally, right? When it starts to decompose, a lot of the decomposition adds nutrients to the soil. And some of the trees, if the crown, the top of the tree is intact and it's still relatively sturdy, they will leave it for wildlife until it gets reassessed. But we're just going to interrupt. Lou, can I just interrupt here, guys? We're going to come in here. Come on in, folks. Be careful walking over. Luke is with us. Yeah, I'm going to get my mask on too, Luke. So you guys have been busy here. Very busy. So how many trees, and I'll just get you to speak up a bit because I don't have a mic on you, but how many trees then you've cut down here in this area, would you say?
So we just totaled them up yesterday, and this area is about 120 ash.
120.
Yeah, so we thought there'd be a little bit more, but after totaling everything up, it was actually a little less, which is good.
Okay, which is great. Now we're going to actually take one down there, and I was just explaining to everybody watching, the last thing you want to do is cut a tree. I mean, especially when you're a conservation authority, but this is a necessity. So when you cut this last remaining that you're going to do in this sort of, cutting, like you break it down each year, you do a little bit more. Will this be the end of this project now at the end of this month?
Yeah, so at the end of this week, in the next week, these last two areas will be finished cutting, and then that's it for Rattray.
For Rattray, it'll be done. And then, of course, your team will start coming in, and then you start again planting new trees and shrubs, right?
Yeah, so we'll treat the invasive species that come up in the springtime, and then throughout this spring and then this fall, there will be about 900 trees and shrubs going in this area. And in the next area, there will be about 600. And then for the whole project, there's 3,300.
Wow. Okay. So this is all part of the good story then, where you're starting to do the redevelopment. Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to hop over here. And we're going to let you guys do your thing. And I should say guys and gals. I say that with much respect. So we're going to hop over here. And there, how old would you say that tree is that we're cutting down?
That tree is going to be between 40 and 80 years old. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So we're going to hop over here in a safe spot. And for those at home, I don't know if you've ever had a chance to cut a tree. Hopefully, if you did cut a tree, you did it for a good reason, because you shouldn't have to cut a tree. We're ready when you are. But these guys are the professionals, right? This is what they do. But there's something defining about a tree when it gets cut. So we're streaming live at Rattray Marsh Conservation Area. And this is all because of that. We're all looking. It's like, okay, are we good? All right. I always get nervous. See, she did that little dance, Wow. Let's move in here. Again, you don't want to have to cut a tree, but it needs to be done in this scenario, and these are the experts that are doing it. But when that tree went down, you hear the crack, and then you hear the thud on the ground. It's quite something. And by the way, a side note, do you know the story of timber, by the way? Anybody know? Nobody know? Okay, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to go on my little pulpit here, and I'm going to explain the story of yelling timber. And that is many, many years ago when lumberjack, and they were mainly men, lumberjack, that's all they were doing back, I'm talking many, many years ago, and primarily with axes. And the whole idea is that when they were cutting down the trees for timber, it would be milled. So they would be in there with teams, and there would be a couple of guys with horses that will drag the tree out, and it would be milled. So the more trees that they would cut in their day, the more money they made. So when they're cutting by an axe, they wanted to secure the horse first. When it goes down, timber, come on in and get my tree out, because it's going to get milled and I'm going to make some money. So that's the story. That's what I read. But isn't this something? Look at the size of this tree. And again, the signature of the beetle. Look at those little S grooves all through here. So when the conservation authorities come in, they examine all the trees and they make the assessment. So it reaches a point where it is no longer safe, and they have to come in and they have to cut it. And when they cut it, they will, in some cases, they're breaking up into smaller pieces, because now, you know, the next crews will be coming in when they start doing the planting. But this will be generally, Luke, this will be staying here, right? I mean,
Yeah, no, it just stays in place.
Stays in place.
As natural fertilizer.
Right.
For the trees coming up, and then it also acts as a place for critters to hide. And
so, saying natural fertilizer, and then for wildlife. I mean, this is where they will call home. So, exceptional work by your team, and something that is needed. But you know, the takeaway here is that we all can help this. If you happen to spot that beetle, that picture that I showed you, you should call Conservation Authority, and they'll direct you on what's the best thing to do. Because, you know, one of the worst things to do is moving some infected wood and bringing it to another area. Maybe there's still a larva, maybe there's still a beetle in there, and now you've moved it around. Because nobody wants to see this happen. So we all have a role to play. So this has been a fascinating show. Vern, would you mind just passing the tablet just before we wrap up? We have lots of sunshine here. The crew's been great. And we have seen so many different people join us today, so appreciate that. And again, if you're just joining us now, you know, we do this every Friday. We stream live, and it's at noon. And if you have suggestions on where you want us to go, let me know. And also, don't forget, you can watch the replay on YouTube as well on Facebook. But right now, I need you to share. I need you to like and show some hearts. And don't forget to also subscribe to the podcast. Let's grow this. Let's continue to do adventures. Let's celebrate nature, and let's do it together during these very challenging times. Just before we wrap up, Kathy says, yes, save a tree any chance you can. Right on. But sometimes it has to be done. Linda says, okay, we're working on the video there. And John says, we need to have heat treat any wood used for creating to prevent the spread of unwanted pests. Heat treating, is that normal?
In a more of an industrial mill setting.
I see.
Yeah.
So he's saying industrial. So when the wood is already cut, sort of thing, right? Right. Okay. All right. So listen, we're going to end it off right here. I want to thank you so much for joining us. Everybody make some noise. Woo! You guys did a great job. Thank you for sharing the story and showing what you guys do as we try to really protect our conservation areas and celebrate nature. I'm Anwar, saying thank you for joining us on what show? Here and There. And where will I be next week? Here and There. See you guys. See you next week. Stay safe.